people didn't. Okay, so people didn't make it to the venue today, but they are with us online. But thank you for making the time and driving all the way here to be with us today. My name is Gqeberha. I'm with the Gqeberha Development Corporation, but today I'm wearing a BPESA hat as one of the representatives in the Eastern Cape. And I would like to welcome you to this first CEO session that we're having at BPESA. And I think this is quite monumental for us to be able to have something like this after about 4 years of having BPESA in the region. And with the work that they've been doing over the last 4 years, we hope to have more of these sessions going forward and to have much more engagements with our stakeholders. So without further ado, I'll ask Ms. Lynn Davis to come to the podium to do the welcoming for us.
Thank you so much, Gqeberha. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to all our online visitors. So before I provide a short overview of the work that we've been doing in the Eastern Cape over the last 2 years now, I'd like to just acknowledge our CEO, Reshni Singh. Reshni, thank you so much for always tirelessly promoting the Eastern Cape. Reshni is a champion, a fierce champion of the Eastern Cape, and she's joined us on this trip specifically to help us to basically guide and position the Eastern Cape. So Reshni, as far as our master plan is concerned, you are doing well and all of us are doing well too. So when I took on this role of regional coordinator in early 2020, it was really with great excitement to give visibility to the GBS sector in the region. So a lot of the work that we were doing at the time was around mobilizing all of our local stakeholders, regional stakeholders. And today I'm pleased to announce that we've come such a long way since that time. The region has embraced me as a regional coordinator, embraced BPESA as an organization, and everybody has shown such a great willingness to see change happen in the region. We established our Eastern Cape Committee. We have over 12 organizations within that Eastern Cape Committee who are very focused, and they have an action plan designed to get us to that 500,000 youth job target by 2030. Arambi are in the room today. Sue, we were so excited a couple of weeks ago when we launched the SA Youth Platform in the region. We had over 52 companies joining us online, which means 52 partners. So Sue, you and your team have really done an excellent job in terms of SA Youth. Then, just in terms of today, we're going to allow Reshni to just talk to us a little bit about the key objectives that BPESA has set for itself this year in the region. And so without any further ado, I'd like to bring you back to the platform to allow the program to continue.
Thank you very much, Lynn. So you've done part of my job, Lynn, which was introduce the next speaker, which is Ms. Reshni Singh. She is the current CEO of BPESA National. She's got a wealth of experience in the sector, having worked in government, specifically in the DTIC, where she was there for about 2 years, working around mobilizing strategy of the sector, as well as working on the incentives, as well as the master plan recently. So Reshni, over to you.
Thank you so much, Buyo, and good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be in this beautiful venue this morning and being able to actually address you, and thank you so much for the sacrifice of actually doing the trip here. I just want to start off by acknowledging the excellent work that both Lynn and Buyo has been doing in the region thus far. I think it's been phenomenal, just the kind of progress we've made in the past 2 to 3 years, especially during the COVID period. This morning, I mean, my mission of actually being here, and Lynn is right, you know, in 2009, we hosted an international GBS conference in PE. And we had people from all over the world that descended on this particular region. A number of, from the Rockefeller Foundation to various others that have joined us. So these conversations about BPO in the region has been going on for a very long time. And because I've been involved with this particular sector since way back, I think that I started in the sector in 2007. I've obviously been sitting with a lot of frustration to say, guys, come on, this needs to move now. We can't just be having discussions. And I'm so glad to see Anthony in the room today, have been here to be able to share some of the infrastructure development, because back then, that was a huge problem. We didn't have the cables, we didn't have a lot of things, and so we have worked tirelessly over the period to try and position the region. But this morning, amidst all the other challenges that South Africa faces, from power generation to various other challenges, the GBS master plan leaves me with a challenge of actually trying to achieve 500,000 jobs in the sector by 2030. And it's a very, many people say this is an audacious target, it's very difficult for us to achieve, but I'm very optimistic, and I truly believe that South Africa has the potential to be able to deliver that number of jobs. In fact, if anything, I think we will shoot the lights out by the time we get there. We will probably exceed that target because we are so well positioned. I can honestly tell you, with the years of investment promotion activity that's been taken, the conversations that I have with various investors that are interested, the appetite is at its peak at the moment. There's a massive appetite for Africa, and especially South Africa. We've done ourselves many excellent favors during COVID in terms of being able to keep the lights on, being able to get our agents to provide services, essential services to our offshore clients, and the fact that we were so resilient, I think it really assisted, and which is how we were actually positioned as #1 for customer experience for 2 years in a row, with us coming in second this year. But I'm also confident that we'll probably get back to #1 position next year. So traditionally, the sector was, there was a massive interest in Cape Town, and we were chatting earlier on about marketing and about, what does the globe actually know? And everybody knew Cape Town because of Table Mountain. And as a result, there was, it was a region that was positioning itself for this particular sector, and it's grown quite significantly, and they continue to grow. But there's challenges with that, because Cape Town is not South Africa. South Africa is much bigger. And the challenges is that regions do become saturated. There are leadership challenges, there's poaching, there's all kinds of things. And as a national organization, it's important for us to actually also de-risk and also, decide, listen, what are the other options? How do we move the sector across the country? And how do we take these opportunities to the people? Because where are those? Where's that talent pool sitting? And that's when, when we actually designed the master plan, we were very specific and very clear about our tier 2 and tier 3 strategies. So tier 2 obviously being regions such as the Eastern Cape, also looking at township economy, models, etc. And if I look at KZN and where they were, obviously I'm not going to talk about Joburg. Joburg was, is the economic hub of the country, and things happen in Joburg. And there wasn't much of a stimulus that was needed. However, KZN needed that, and we've had these conversations. We've had a number of these sessions from back in 2016, 2017 to say, as government, in fact, as all the key stakeholders from local government, regional government, national government, we've got to get together with our other partners to be able to properly put together a value proposition around the region. And the one thing that was great was that everybody realized that this is a sector that has potential, that it can have the impact that we're looking for in terms of youth employment opportunities. And through that collaboration and concerted effort that was put in, KZN last year was the region that had the highest job creation for this particular sector. Now, when I had these conversations back in 2016, 2017, they also had just one sort of major player, which was CCI in the area that was actually growing, and that was it, And now, I mean, if you look at the way Shlanga has taken off, the number of international operators that have set up, the fact that there is alignment with the USA from a time zone perspective in terms of night shifts and those kind of things, it's really taken off. But the lesson there was it was all about collaboration of the stakeholders, working together, co-creating, and addressing all of the challenges that they had in the region. So similarly, I am extremely optimistic, and I truly believe that we could do exactly the same in the Eastern Cape by coming together and working towards it. Now, from a master plan perspective, I mean, there's just 5 areas that we all, it's such a simple master plan. The quickest one to be developed and signed off by government. And, the 5 areas that we're looking at is obviously demand, looking at how do we bring the jobs to the region, how do we position ourselves, and there's a lot of work that's being done at the moment with regards to value propositions around the region and looking at, what is our USP for this particular region and how do we position ourselves. And then there's they say that there's lots of very well-kept secrets within South Africa, and this is probably that well-kept secret that we actually have to bring out in the open, and we're going to have to share with the rest of the world. So marketing would be a very, very key aspect of the work that we have to focus on. The second area is the supply side, which speaks about skills development. And I think it's fantastic that Harambee is in the room. Harambee is actually a partner of the BPESA from an employment acceleration perspective. And it's about how do we pathway, how do we give the right skills to the youth in the region, be able to pathway them into employment, and similarly be able to upskill them in terms of digital skills, etc. So that's a very coordinated approach that has to happen. And as local and regional stakeholders, we've all got to look at how do we invest in that. Then with regards to the infrastructure part of it, it's about looking at the availability of buildings to be able to develop the right capacity. This is a sector that requires large spaces that way, you end up. Our sector actually works on what you would call super centers. Super centers meaning like 800 seats plus in terms of capacity. So do we have the right buildings, the right infrastructure to be able to support that? Do we have connectivity, things like latency, etc. becomes very important. And with some of the announcements that's going to be made today, we're going to see this and even have that covered. The tier 2 and tier 3 strategy that I spoke to that falls under infrastructure, but how do we prioritize, how do we take the jobs to the people, which obviously assists us in terms of lowering our attrition, but most importantly, the challenge that I raised that's in the Western Cape, as well as in KZN now, around the poaching, that puts pressure on our price point. It actually puts our competitiveness at risk because South Africa is never the cheapest in this space. We never want to be the cheapest. We're a quality destination. People will have to pay a premium for the quality that they get from South Africans. And based on that, it is important then to make sure that we contain our costs and that we commit to bringing in, to investing in raw talent and bringing in those new entrants into the sector as opposed to displacing people from A to B for 100 rands or 500 rands extra. We need to discourage that kind of behavior. And the fourth area is around transformation. And transformation is a lot of work, and I'm so glad to see Shumani in the room. And he and Lynn have the same passion when it comes to enterprise development and SME development. And there's a lot of work that's being done in terms of having a meaningful contribution towards the transformation agenda of our country. And we obviously take transformation quite seriously. We're not a sector that would want to see, just it's all about lip service and not actually doing anything. So we want to be able to make some kind of meaningful contribution there. And BPESA has restructured, reorganized ourselves in the sense that we will want to focus on those important aspects of our economy. And then the last area is around sustainability. And sustainability is extremely key because historically this was a sector that was seen to be footloose because it was all on an OPEX model. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow, where can we get this cheaper in the world, and we just up and move, and that's not what this is about. And I can safely tell you that 15, 16 years later of being in the sector, we've managed to sustain a lot of what we have done in the past. If you look at a brand like Amazon, that's come here back in 2008, 2009, up to today, they're still here and they have been growing and they have been investing heavily, data centers, various different things. So that's the kind of sustainability that we want to encourage. So, it's not just about creating short-term jobs and then, who cares what happens thereafter? We actually do. We want these jobs we want to create them, we want to sustain them, we want to be able to make sure that we take care of our investors, that there is a proper aftercare strategy that's in place, that we sustain the ecosystems that we've developed. So very importantly, when I spoke about the pathway of the youth from being unemployed into jobs, how do we sustain those ecosystems? How do we ensure that there's a consistent pipeline of this raw talent that's coming into the industry and that we are constantly creating employment opportunities for them? So that is a key component of the master plan. So as much as it's a simple master plan with 5 objectives, it is a master plan that requires a lot of collaboration, working together to be able to get to that point. So for me, if today, and the great news is that we are getting a major, the largest BPO globally, that's what I will say, that is coming to PE very, very soon. So the decision has been made. I'm not allowed to mention names at the moment. They are coming, and it just takes 1 or 2 of those. Somebody has to pay the school fees. Somebody has to show this can work. And then the wave is coming. And we've got to be ready for that wave. And we've got to make sure that all of the ecosystems are well aligned to be able to respond to that wave. So I'm really, really excited about that opportunity. And I'm here to basically motivate and encourage and inspire this team that's based in the region to say, let's work together, let's make this possible. And, if we're not going to do this for those youth that are really dependent on people that do have influence and do have power to do the right thing so that they can get these opportunities. This is also about our children, our grandchildren, and their future in the country. So I really want to appeal to you to please, let's get together, let's get this show on the road. Let's get the sector to where we know it would be for the Eastern Cape. And I'm looking forward to many more sessions with the team. A lot of monitoring and evaluation of how we're doing, where we are, what progress has been made. So as BPESA, we will be keeping very close in touch with the team here. And let's put our best foot forward for the global BPO that's coming here soon. We need to make that as seamless as possible. And that will be the great proof of concept that we can put out into the market. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for having us, and thank you for being here this morning. Have a lovely day further. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rishmi, for those encouraging remarks. And I think, like you said, the value proposition for ECDC becomes very pertinent and important. Many of the conversations that we've had with potential clients over the years have really been around the infrastructure, physical as well as connectivity. And I think now we can probably say that we are participating globally as ECDC because there's been these undersea cables connecting Cape Town and KZN, but we haven't had anything for a very long time. And that brings me to the next speaker, who's going to give us the keynote address. I received the WhatsApp this morning from Lynn when I requested the bio, and she said he wants it simple and straightforward. So our next speaker is a technologist, the founder and chairman of Convergence Partners, the chairman and president of the Digital Council for Africa. He's got lots of experience. Space, business investment. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you very much, Will. Thank you very much, the CEO. Thank you very much. And I think I must say that you have a very good salesperson here. I mean, who can sell anything. So, and mainly, in business, the most important thing is persevere to convince. I mean, read a lot of books called The Art of Convincing. I think that's why I'm here. I mean, so, and Puyo then added. I mean, but this is a great topic. I mean, I'm just going to give a context of this. Keep your phone on, I'll tell you where to go and when I make examples. So one is, many years back in my previous life, we brought America online in South Africa at merchants. And it was one of the largest contact center businesses here, and almost providing services to AOL in the US and from Johannesburg. And that grew, I mean, from a few number of seats to pretty quite a very large contact center business, providing those services to an American, one of the largest American companies. That just to show an example, but I think, I mean, if I sort of give a bit of a critique and say, my view is that there's mute. Oh, what is that? Yeah, I thought I could see that. You were muting. No, you were muting us, not them. Yes, so no worries. So my talk today is more going to try and basically, be framed around the future of work. Okay. And bring that to where technologies are and what we need to do. And of course, I'm going to give context to here and submarine cables, as I frame, that position or thesis. So if you look at the evolution of whether BPO or contact center, however you want to define it, I'm not going to go to the history, but I'm going to take it from here to the future. I mean, because I assume that people here are pretty quite familiar with that past. Now, where is the future going? And then how I'm going to raise questions than answers as to what do we do in responding to that future, basically. So that's what I will try and do. And I'm going to make reference to the province, to try and bring that future home by making reference to the automotive sector as to what could be that relationship with, i.e., the future of what we are talking about. But before I do that, allow me to sort of get into technology a little bit without diving too deep. But if I get a little bit deeper and lift up your hand, I'll get back out into a normal environment. So when you teach children how to differentiate between an apple and a banana and a strawberry and other fruits, how do you do that for the first time and you want them to recognize these things, right? You use colors, right? And when you have that image of an apple in a paper, what do you say? Do you say, this is the image of an apple, or do you say, this is an apple? That is ontology, okay? Now, in artificial intelligence, there's what is called, inference. And also, the unit of analysis in this whole topic is data, okay? Bear that in mind, data. Everything else becomes secondary. The unit of analysis is data. So we, as humans, as we walk around, we recognize each other as we look at each other's faces by name, or at least you know that this is a person, or where we are, this is a big five, by simply looking at things. And those things, you either store them in memory and you keep them. And so you know what's around you as trees and everything, and you have a better understanding of the world around you. And sometimes you keep learning to absorb new things that you don't know. Now, I'm going to bring that thing back so if you look at sometimes what Google does in the streets, they've got these cars that they put cameras on top of them that drive around, collect data of images around them. I'm sure you've seen these cars, right? And these cars, they pick up everything, basically, or what we call street furniture, meaning the things they see around. It could be traffic lights, it could be a tree, it could be this, all of those things. But that camera doesn't yet know what that thing is, am I correct? How do you make then this thing to know that this is a tree, traffic lights, this is this, this is this, this is a cat, this is a human being, and all of those things, right? How do you do that? Okay, so sometimes when you are looking for a document on the internet, you want to download the document. They say, put your name, surname, you put your name, surname, email, Bit boring, you don't like to do that. I mean, and then you say, what is your name? My name is forget. And then what is your surname? My surname is remember. You know, you put all that nonsense because you don't want to give them your data. And you give them your email, they send you, the document. But before you download the document, they give you a window of about maybe 8 small boxes with images to say, click here if you see step ladder in these boxes. Nonsense. You then, because you want to get to the document that you want. Am I correct? What do you call that? You are labeling things. That's what you're doing. Am I correct? That's what you're doing. You are labeling them, right? Or other people, they call it labeling and annotation. Imagine how many millions of people who are doing that, okay? So if you will be collecting data in the streets using that camera, you then use people who want to download documents to label that data for you. That's what you do. As many people as possible, they then label that data, and you now have the data by name, that this is a tree, this is a stepladder, this is a traffic light, this is a bicycle, this is a boat. As people download documents, they then are labeling. So you're using them as your business processing activity, spread everywhere, right? But you can also have a group of young people located in a facility where you put that data and store it, and they start labeling it for you. You can even use that business model. Or you can use people as they download things on the internet. And sometimes these images might not be very clear, right? Sometimes you even do that in letters. When you want to download, they give you 5 letters, Y, Z, P, W, and say to download here, you see this image, right underneath. If it is Z, you write. If it is capital letter P, you write. If it is this, you write. You are annotating and labeling. That's what you're doing. You are employed because you are downloading my document. I'm going to make you do this in exchange. Right? When you do that, as you label, I make money out of that, but you do it for free for me. Okay, so a lot of that work is happening, right? In labeling data, annotating data. There are companies who specialize in this. And this is one of the biggest employing activities in the world. As we now are talking about that, here in the Eastern Cape, in the next few years, we will be producing semi-driverless cars or driverless cars, right? Meaning these cars will have cameras, multiple cameras in front, multiple cameras at the back, and the car will know where it is and the state of the environment around it. At least those fixed images. And some of the images that are basically mobile, that when the images that were taken in that street probably were not there. But the car will know that here there are traffic lights, here there's a tree, here there's this, here there's this. So there are companies, one of the name of the companies, I'll give reference, that does annotation and labeling in Kenya is a company called Sama. Google it, S-A-M-A, right? Sama, in Kenya. They do that. They employ a lot of young people who do labeling and annotation for a multiplicity of multinationals worldwide. Now, this data then that gets collected as images, right? In order for it to be much more intelligent, it gets trained, using these AI and machine learning tools and a whole range of things, right? The data is trained and inference or machine learning inference is done, or machine learning training is done in order for the data to at least be used much more intelligently, right? So there are different types of skills. Before you go to the most advanced computational skills, basically, starting from that basic skill of labeling and annotating, these are the future jobs of this industry, basically. And to train someone to do that from matric, you can train somebody to know how to do labeling and annotation of data. It is not a complicated training program. And as you then want people to do much more complex stuff, in that there's a value chain, which I'm not going to take you through to the most advanced capability of the types of things you do with data today. As I've said, unit of analysis is data, okay? That's what we are talking about. This has become an industry that we work in it from multiple angles. But the part I'm talking about, it's about the future of work. What type of jobs will data create? What type of jobs will we see that people will be employed to do, or will have startups of their own, and that will operate in the data environment? As I've said, it's a discipline that I think, we need to accelerate by training people and be able to create businesses and startups to do this type of work. So the amount of data then that still need to be labeled, still need to be annotated, is from here to Mars and back. That's how big it is. We haven't even started to scratch the surface. Whether that data is related to health, or I've just used automotive as an example just because of the industries here, and whether that data is retail, whether that data is in multiple fields. There is labeling even of conversational, i.e., the way we talk, that this data of voice communications gets labeled itself in order to create intelligence on top of it. So that you can have a machine or chatbots that you are able to have a proper conversation, whether that chatbot provides customer service, it can hear you, it can respond to your queries, and it is because the data has been trained before that the data was labeled and there was inference done and all of that. This is what the future of work is all about. It is about understanding these skills that are required for this work. It is about understanding the training required for this. It is about understanding the infrastructure you need in order for this new type of doing things, basically. I always make another very simple example. I mean, Google has an AI platform now called Bard, right? I mean, there's, GPT-4, and there's Mosaic ML. There are many of all of these engines, right? But they are not new, some of them. As you know, your own phone, whether you use an Android phone, whether you use Apple OS, if you were doing something in 2019, this day, it will pop up in the morning and say, hey, remember where we were on this, right? It's remembering from image. So what really I'm saying, to the community here is that we need to think about the future of work, and we need to think about the types of startups and jobs that future of work will require. And we need to think about the skills we need to do in order to prepare young people for that ecosystem. I've just pulled few samples rather than a comprehensive analysis of this. As I've said, there's very basic to much more complex algorithmic modeling of data, which I don't want to take a deep dive of it at the moment. Right. So I really think, colleagues, the older skills that we have generated for people are literally going to go away. They will perish. They will not exist. They will be replaced by machines. So the ability for us to say, what are these skills that will not exist? And how do we retool these people in order for them to get to this new environment? I talk to a lot of colleagues, in the automotive space. Maybe just to make an example. I did an address in 1991 to a group of unionists just before mobile came in. And these are telecom and the post office then employed about 144,000 people, 144,000 people split between the post office and telecom. And I said to them, and I had a mobile device with me, a mobile phone 91. I said, this is going to replace your jobs. There was a big laughter in the room. Right? Because people could not imagine a fixed telephone of copper coming to your house or your business to be replaced by a mobile device. Some people were saying, do you mean that a cordless phone can work beyond your garden? Because it was an unthinkable, this is a pre-2G coming in, that this is going to happen. Telkom today, if they've got 20,000 people, it's probably a bonus. If you look at the number of people they employ, I think at that time alone, there were 75,000 in the early 90s. And I was giving this address, how that industry is going to change. Okay. Few years later, not just recently, in fact. If I give you another interesting story, in the US, GM and Ford and a number of these companies, who come out of a very strong fossil fuel engine, which had a carburetor. If you remember a carburetor in a car, and I don't know if you know the pieces of parts in a carburetor, from a carburetor to a fuel engine, right? And today to hybrid cars. BPESA, and to better analyze this. And it is not 20 years from today, it's sooner, right? So in summary, what I'm saying is that the issue of the future of work is central to us as a people, as a country, as a province, as an organization, right? If we want, unfortunately, right, the biggest challenge is that this has to be done in the entire process of learning, not only at output where people are older. We have to reconsider this at every stage as to what is this future of work, what type of skills will be required, so that we do not produce people that we know cannot be consumed by that new future of work. It therefore requires labor, education, higher education, society, business, to really debate the future of work very seriously. Countries that will succeed in this new future of work are those who are going to plan today. So what I'm saying in summary, in building your 2030 strategy, in building your future strategy, please, I beg you to really strategize around the issue of the future of work and try and bring other stakeholders in the ecosystem to debate this and at least have a common foundation that we have to agree. I was part of that commission called for IR, right? There's a chapter there that deals with the future of work. It is not expensive, as I have given this brief talk here, but it provides the foundation for people to add into it. But I'm saying that we really need to focus on this future of work as soon as possible before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Always quite an experience listening to your conversations around these issues. And I think we've got a lot of work to do. I think as a sector and as a country, from both also a policy perspective and trying to get people to understand these opportunities and how they will change business and entrepreneurship going forward. So thank you very much for that. So we're going to have a presentation now from Makana, who's online, and he will be speaking about the GBS Incentive that's recently been launched by ECDC. And I think this is really focused around making sure that we incentivize the investors that are coming to the region in terms of them having the proper infrastructure, as well as looking at the skills component for the job that they do. Makana, over to you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Good morning, everyone. Hope you are enjoying yourself and the venue is living up to billing. I am Makana Mandiwana. I work for the Eastern Cape Development Corporation as an investment officer. I'll be taking you through recently adopted and approved incentives by the Eastern Cape Development Corporation within the global business services sector. I hope the presentation is visible on your end. I'm going to just take you through briefly what the ECDC is about, and then we're just going to touch on the GBS incentive as well as its objectives and a screen that highlights what we are offering. The broader GBS incentive document will be shared with participants after this particular session. It is also available online on the ECDC website for further reading and viewing. And for any questions, comments, inputs, or clarity around the offering, myself and my colleague at the ECDC are available to answer any questions. So the Eastern Cape Development Corporation is an agency within the Eastern Cape province that is tasked with ensuring that the province is geared to drive and facilitate inclusive economic growth and development. We are working on a mission that seeks to promote and coordinate inclusive economic development throughout the province by using innovative finance as well as investment solutions. We have got core values that we are trying to implement or have them drive our area of work, being customer centricism, accountability, professionalism, integrity, as well as working in a more coordinated teamwork manner throughout the province so that we attain a common goal by complementing the services that we offer as a province. The GBS incentive that has recently been approved by the ECDC is aligned to the current strategy that is available at the ECDC up until 2026-27 financial year. And it's targeting the sector because we believe that it forms part of industries that can help restructure, transform the Eastern Cape, as well as offer a new industrial base that is more innovative, transformative, as well as sustainable going forward. The incentive itself was approved in March of this year. So after it was approved, we were then, as the ECDC, busy with the legalities of how our contracts would be structured with companies that do qualify, as well as finalizing the design of a proper application form before we actually go out to market to promote it. It's aligned to the current value proposition we have in the Eastern Cape. We believe that the incentive will enhance the value proposition that is there in the province, as well as ensure that the province takes up its rightful place within the GBS national landscape as it stands today. The objectives, as I explained, of the incentive is to support, firstly, investment within the province, as well as viable investment operations within the GBS sector that will importantly be viable, sustainable, as alluded to by the CEO of BPESA. We are also aligned with the thinking of having an industry that is sustainable within the province. It will create, importantly, innovative or digitally based opportunities for youth within the province. We've got a high youth unemployment problem within the Eastern Cape, and we're hoping that this particular sector will assist us in addressing the unemployment issue within the province. But most importantly, we think that it will position the Eastern Cape as a destination for offshore services. So it is also aligned to the vision that we have for the Eastern Cape in terms of being a remote hub destination within South Africa. So it's aligned to those principles that we're working towards as well. And lastly, we are offering this incentive as the Eastern Cape to broaden the value proposition that can be delivered out of South Africa. So we know predominantly it has been centered around 3 regions. So we are putting our hand up as the Eastern Cape to say we are also a region that can offer the GBS industry another business ecosystem. By way of what the incentive purely seeks to achieve, we want to support the localization of GBS jobs within the Eastern Cape. We want to create an enabling ecosystem of globally tradable services, as well as enhance what would be an ever-evolving value proposition for the Eastern Cape going forward. So we want to attract investors as well as companies within the Eastern Cape to deliver IT-enabled business services with the primal objective of creating jobs, as well as creating SMME support value chains that will enable the ecosystem around GBS. When we dig a bit deeper in terms of what the incentive is structured or what it will incentivize by way of resourcing or by way of enabling investors who do choose to locate within the Eastern Cape province. So we have positioned it as a one-off pre-investment support incentive for an applicant. And this would be based off a campaign or a project or opportunity that they feel will be delivered better out of the Eastern Cape. The parameters that we've put within the incentives are aligned to what would ordinarily be evaluated on a national scale within South Africa. So we're also going to look at what the value of the contract would be and what specifics by way of what services that contract will be delivering in terms of measuring whether that is something that can be sustainably delivered within the Eastern Cape. Is it aligned to the broader principles of the GBS master plan that is driven by the DTIC? Is it aligned to what we feel would be the direction of future work led by the guest speaker this afternoon? And additionally, we would then look at what levels of employment opportunities that particular contract would generate within the Eastern Cape. As I mentioned before, the secondary objectives of this particular incentive is to create youth employable opportunities so that we reduce youth unemployment specifically, but rather as youth employed within a services industry that we feel is sustainable and would transform the industrial as well as service base of the Eastern Cape in general. So by way of the first example there on your screen, where an investor or an applicant would have a 50 million rand services contract or GBS contract, the condition we would be looking for within the contract is that that value of contract would be able to or would be delivered via the creation of between 50 to 100 youth jobs. And then the incentive amount that we would then be able to incentivize would be around 300,000 for that particular campaign or that particular opportunity. We then put in 30% participation of local SMME. Those would ordinarily be services that would be covered when an investor locates within the province. So those would be auxiliary services that any investor would need to source within location when they do set up their operations. On the amount side, you'll see that we have written words that speak about tier 1 as well as tier 2. Those refer to the various cities and towns across the Eastern Cape. We are trying to, or we have envisaged in these incentives, future scenario where global business services is not only delivered out of tier 1 cities, but it's also taking place in tier 2 cities as well as towns across the Eastern Cape where support infrastructure allows. The last part of this slide that I wanted to also highlight or allude in support of the location aspects or where an investor could locate, the ECDC has got an asset base of both buildings and asset holdings of land, and would be in a position to negotiate favorable terms with investors should they be choosing a city or town where the ECDC would have a suitable building that those GBS operations could be run out of. So that is also an additional incentive that we would be able to offer as the ECDC for investors. So as you then go down in terms of the scale of the contract, as well as the creation, the employment creation opportunities tied to that contract, we would then be offering higher incentives. The euro, the pound rate you see there is when we were presenting to a client, but also you would know that South Africa is our biggest source market in GBS is the UK. So I do apologize for that, but we're just giving what those values would be by way of pounds. And then the second slide just gives a broad highlight of what we meant by tier 1 and tier 2 cities. The list is not exhaustive, but it's more indicative in terms of where we would, or how we would be classifying what city or town would be qualifying for a particular incentive amount. Like I mentioned before, this is a long-term incentive according to the ECDC. We would be reevaluating the incentive almost on an annual basis, and this is to take into account what the incentive would be offering, as well as take into account what would be quantifying as either tier 1 or tier 2 cities within our incentive. And then lastly, just to allude to something that is also captured in the broader ECDC incentive guidelines, we've got an exception that talks to the threshold for the number of years. So we do want to have youth between 18 and 35 or 34 being hired to operate within the sector. However, we do acknowledge that there will be instances where certain campaigns would require a certain skill set that might be outside of that particular age threshold. So where that aspect is lived when a company comes into the Eastern Cape and is unable to find that particular resource within province, we are in a position to deviate or provide an exception to those particular guidelines to consider that reality, as the CEO of the BPESA, as well as the doctors correctly put it. There is a drive that we are also going on in collaboration with the BPESA in the Eastern Cape that is geared towards ensuring that as we promote the sector for domestic as well as international investors within the GBS sector, we equally ensure that we continue to grow and develop our skills base to then be able to support the demand side of promotions that we would be doing around the sector through not only the incentive, but also through the value proposition that we are undertaking as the Eastern Cape. With that, through you, Chair, thank you for the opportunity, and then if there are any questions, I'll be gladly answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Makana, for that insightful presentation. The live room is currently experiencing some connectivity issues, so our sincere apologies for this. If you have any questions, please do put them in the webinar chat and we will respond to them. Makana, I'm sure you'll be happy to field any questions for as long as the live room is quickly setting up. In the meantime, everybody, please let's just hang 10 as they will reconnect shortly.
Let me just call everybody back in. I don't know if they can hear us. Hi there, can you hear me? Let me switch off the camera. Is this on? Because they're through here now. Yeah. Let me check it. Hi there, we appear to have reconnected. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. We do apologize. We lost connectivity. And yeah, so we just get everyone back in the room. Please give us a moment. Makana, I'm assuming you've completed your presentation.
Yes. Do you perhaps know where I lost everyone, or they lost me just when I finished?
Oh, did everybody lose you? It wasn't just us. We assumed that only we had gone down, but the rest of the participants would have been continuing with you.
Correct. So I'm
Okay.
I'm asking on the last floor,
Okay.
what is they lost me, or what is being decided as a way forward?
Okay, perfect. We'll respond to that question now. Okay, so what's the way forward? Are we going to now go to the next agenda?
Yeah, we're going to the next agenda item.
We are going to go through to the next agenda item. Thank you. We've all rejoined you in the room.
Okay. Yeah. That happens. And yeah, the technology did let us down a bit. Makana has completed his presentation, so I think the participants online could follow the presentation. It was only us. So what we will do is we'll send the presentation to the guests that are here today, and we apologize for that. I think it's more of a network issue with load shedding and all. Yeah, that affected this morning. So, but we've come towards the end of our program for today. It was quite a short program. And I think the address by Dr. Ngaba was very fitting in terms of chanting the way for us and how we prepare ourselves for the future. Rashni did touch on one of the priorities for the master plan being skills development from a supply perspective, and I think he has planted a few seeds in our minds about what are the trends and what we should look out for going forward. So in his absence, I would like to thank him for that. And thank you, Rashni, as well, for also giving those encouraging words, looking at where we come from as a province and how much work is still left ahead of us to do. And I think for the support as well from National, truly appreciated that we are at the stage that we're at and we haven't lost that momentum. So, Lynn, I'm going to call you to the stage now to do the closing remarks, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for coming today. Our online participants, thank you for joining us. I think the way is clear. I think the message is clear. The Eastern Cape is open for business.
Amen.
So I like that amen in the back there. I mean, one of the things that that I was sitting and thinking about while Andile was talking, we are actually ahead of our time. He's been talking about AI and annotation. There's Jomani sitting. We've already started the work. The SOAM hub is ready. We just need to find the clients and we need to find the investors. The concept is there, the infrastructure is there, the ideas are flowing. And we thought about SOAM hub a year ago. Hey, it's about a year ago now that we've been talking about how to give young people capacity within the space of 2 hours. You can give the young person training, they can go into that course and they can come out of there and be able to do basic annotation. And most importantly, be able to earn money. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure that young people can get into the ecosystem, become economic participants, support and help their families. And most people don't know this, but in the Eastern Cape, one person actually supports up to 11 people. So the situation is one of urgency. We have no more time left. We have to accelerate the process of what we are doing. I'm happy that we have our CEOs of our SMME companies in the room. Thank you for making the trip in Tando. I'm happy that you didn't get lost at all sorts of other gates. Thank you that you are here. Knox and your mom, thank you so much. I think it's awesome that people are invested in what they're doing. People are invested in making change and in making a difference. And that's what we're trying to do here in the Eastern Cape. And I think the road is open, the way is clear, people are coming. We just need that first company to come, and then it will be a wave, as our CEO said. So we are waiting for that wave. We are ready. And while we are doing that, working on the pipeline, getting the skills ready, getting young people prepared, getting our operators prepared for what is coming. So let's continue to fly the flag. I think there's a new dawn that awaits us, and we are ready for that. And so I wanted to say thank you to everybody today who has participated and has come out. I think I'm thrilled, and a heartfelt thank you for everything that you have done for me personally and for BPESA as an organization in the region. And I think let's continue to hold hands and let's do it, as the Nike says, just do it. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Thank you very much. And I think today, spirit of partnership, collaboration, that needs to live on. I think we can't do anything without that. And thank you very much for your time and your patience this morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you to the participants in line as well for being patient with us this morning. And to you, Magana, as well for the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, Makana. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day further and enjoy the weekend ahead.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye, Makana. Bye, everyone.
Bye.